We're going to make a puff pastry appetizer with a vegan Italian sausage. We're also going to make a great peanut butter apple dip if you're looking for a nice, healthy, yet tasty appetizer for your party. And lastly, we are going to make some good old-fashioned Chex party mix. Now, I know you can buy Chex party mix in a bag, but it is not the same as homemade. And the original Chex party mix calls for Worcestershire sauce, and most of the time that contains anchovies. I'm going to show you a way out of that when we get to that recipe. So let's start with our puff pastry and Italian sausage. To make this, you just need a few ingredients. We're going to start with our puff pastry. Now, Pepperidge Farm puff pastry is accidentally vegan, so I like to use that. And I've had this one sitting out to thaw, so I'm hoping it is not too thawed. It's all right. We can make it work. There we go. Okay, so we have our puff pastry. I'm using tofurkey Italian sausage. You really could use any vegan sausage here if you wanted to use a one of the tofurkey bratwursts or something like that. So we're going to start with the puff pastry. We divided that into thirds. We're going to roll that out. And on the puff pastry, we are going to spread a little bit of Dijon mustard and mayonnaise. So I'm just going to take a spoonful of mayonnaise. Not very much, because we don't need that much. And I'm using the Hellmann's vegan mayonnaise. And then we're going to add some Dijon mustard to that. A good chunk of that. And we're going to stir it together. And this is the sauce. And we are going to add this sauce to our puff pastry. You don't want too much sauce or it's going to get soggy. So just enough to give some flavor. And we'll use that for our other three. And then we're going to wrap our Italian sausage in the puff pastry, like so. And we want to seal up all of the ends. You're going to want to line the cookie sheet. I like to line mine with parchment paper. It just makes cleanup so much easier. I'm going to put that on top of this cookie sheet. And our last ingredient is the everything bagel seasoning, and I'm going to sprinkle that all over my Italian sausage and puff pastry, and I'm going to press it in. So I'm going to kind of roll it into this seasoning so that it all sticks to the outside of the puff pastry. I want to get the seeds in the everything bagel seasoning to toast while it's baking, okay? So I think I'm going to add a few more. Whoops! I added too many more. It's okay, I'll save the rest for another sausage that I'm going to do. So we'll just wrap that up. I'll show you a little tip. If you put too much on your cookie sheet, you can just pick up your parchment paper and dump it into a bowl, and then you can use it on the next one. Once you have your puff pastry coated with the everything seasoning, then you can just slice this into slices. Now these little bites are going to be your appetizers. So you want them to be all about the same size so that they puff up all nice when they bake. If you want to make extra of the mayonnaise and Dijon mustard sauce, you can use that for a dipping sauce, which is really good. One package of these tofurkey sausages with 4 sausages in it will give you 24 appetizers. I'm just going to bake up 6 for now because my party's not till later and they're better warm. So I just want you to see how these look when they're all baked. Look at these great little sausage appetizers. I promise even your meat eaters are going to love these. Now it's time for our healthy, kid-friendly peanut butter apple dip. This recipe is super simple. You want 1 part yogurt to 1 part peanut butter. So it depends on how much of this dip you want to make. I've got about a half a cup or 3/4 cup of yogurt here. Then you're going to want to add in some natural peanut butter. I'm using creamy peanut butter because I want my dip to be smooth and creamy. I don't want it to have chunks of peanuts in it. I need some more peanut butter, so give me just a minute. So I only have more chunky peanut butter, so I'm going to have a little bit of chunks in my dip. That's not the end of the world. This peanut butter is super hard, so I'm going to stick it in the microwave for a couple minutes to soften it up. And by a couple minutes, I mean about 30 seconds. While that's warming up, let's go ahead and add the rest of our ingredients. I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of maple syrup. This is pure maple syrup. And I'm going to add just a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now you don't have to add the vanilla if you're using vanilla yogurt, and you may not need as much maple syrup, but my yogurt was plain, so I am going to add a little bit of vanilla and the maple syrup. Well, that's so much softer now. You see how that works? So we're going to add another couple tablespoons into here. All right, and that's our dip. Let's just stir that together. That dip looks really good. I want to give it a taste. That is really good. It's going to be great on my apples. I will show you at the end of this video how I serve it all up with the apples and the other appetizers that we're having. Our next recipe is Chex Mix. This is great for any party. My mom used to make bags of this during the holiday season, so when company came over, we'd always have something to share. You're probably wondering why you need a vegan Chex Mix recipe anyway. Don't they have Chex Mix at the grocery store? Well, homemade Chex Mix is so much better than that at the grocery store. And the problem with most Chex Mix recipes is they're not vegan because they call for Worcestershire sauce. And Worcestershire sauce has anchovies in it. So it's not good for vegans or vegetarians. So today I'm going to show you my recipe for vegan Chex Mix. It's super easy, and I'm going to use this big pan to mix everything up in. So I've got some of the corn Chex, and then we're going to do some rice Chex, and wheat Chex. I like to use peanuts in mine, and so we need a cup of peanuts. So peanuts, and then pretzels. You can put whatever you want in here. You can add bagel chips or pita chips. This is the basic recipe, and this is how I make it up. One thing my husband likes me to add is these peanut butter pretzels, so I'm going to add another cup of these as well, just for funsies. That's our Chex Mix. Now we just need to mix up the sauce that goes on top. For the sauce, I'm going to put everything into this glass measuring cup because I can put this into the microwave and melt the butter. And I'm going to use 1 stick of the Country Crock plant butter. I'm going to do some garlic powder and some onion powder. Now, one of the secret ingredients is Lowry seasoned salt. I have made this before many times, and I couldn't figure out why mine wasn't as good as my mom's. And I learned that it was the Lowry seasoned salt. This really does make the difference. And so we need about 2 teaspoons of the Lowry seasoned salt. So the last thing we need to do is replace that Worcestershire sauce. And to do that, I've just bought some vegan Worcestershire sauce. Now, some brands, like this Kroger brand, doesn't include anchovies in it, so you can check your labels and you might find one at your grocery store that is anchovy free. But if not, you can find Annie's is also a vegan Worcestershire sauce. It's available at health food stores, and you can order this one online. So we need to add a few tablespoons of that. I'm going to put this into the microwave for a minute and melt all that butter. While that is melting, I'm going to line 2 cookie sheets with parchment paper to bake the Chex Mix. You don't necessarily have to line it with parchment paper, but it is kind of a mess to clean up if you don't. And I'm just not a fan of doing dishes. All right, I'm gonna put these off to the side and check my butter. This is looking great. Let's stir it all together. You wanna get all those chunks of butter melted before you mix into your Chex Mix. So let's just stir that until it's all melted. All right, that looks great. Now we will dump it into our mix. And we can stir it together. You can use your hands to stir this, or a spoon, whatever you want to do. The trick is to coat each one of these with some of the sauce. All right, there it is. It's ready to go. We are going to pour this onto our baking sheets. I'm going to put half on each sheet. And you want it to go into a thin layer so that it gets nice and crispy. This one, you can see some wet spots here. I didn't mix real well, so I'm going to go ahead and mix all that into the rest of this. Now this is just going to go into the oven at about 250 for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. You just need to get it nice and crispy. The Chex Mix is ready, and we are about ready for our party. Let's pour this into a bowl. It's time for our party, and everything looks really good. We have our kid-friendly, healthy peanut butter apple dip and our everything bagel sausage pigs in a blanket, and we have our Chex Mix, and it is so good. If you are looking for some more healthy, family-friendly recipes, then check out this recipe right here.